returning back to my apartment with my photos, I transferred those files onto my laptop and separated them into 4 different folders. I took scans from 4 different sides of the statue, so I decided one folder for each angle that I was scanning from. And after that, I ran the Python script with some slightly edited threshold values to try to get a better match for the lighting uh, in the area, just to try to get better values. So after that Python script was done running, I hopped into MATLAB to run the uh, resultant text file of data points in this MATLAB script. This is the default one that was given to us just to see where I would have to do some cleanup on noise. So here's an example from the front angle that I took, and as you can see, you can see Testudo right there with the head and neck right here and the front legs, but there is a decent amount of noise as well, and this was very common for the other scans as well. So I used some values here, or I used the data points tool here to try to figure out where my bounds of my scan would be and set some parameters for another MATLAB code that I will show you in a second. But I also wanted to point out here that one thing that is missed in my scans is the bottom bit of Testudo. You don't really see the feet or just the bottom of the statue in general. It starts basically at the shell, and that is because my LiDAR scanning mount is not very tall. The tripod that I'm currently using, the camera is situated around the top of the base of the statue, meaning that it's really difficult to get the laser to interact with the bottom of the statue. One thing I'm thinking about doing for my final scan is to bring a chair or a box or something to put the tripod on to hopefully get better visibility of these areas of the statue, which ultimately is the most important part of these scans too, is the actual statue, not the base. So after checking the bounds of where I wanted to do some cleanup on my scans, I created a new MATLAB code where I imported every single set of scans that I did. So there's one for the front angle, the left side of Testudo, the right side, and then the back as well. I assigned all the data to different X, Y, and Z systems, and then I began filtering out unnecessary points. So I used a collection of if statements with and or conditions to designate which values would be permitted in the scan. And by doing that, I said that if the point was in this range, then it would be assigned to a new array of x, y, and z values, which is what the final point clouds are made up of. So I did this for each of the scans, and also included some out of bounds areas where if it was within this range, then it would be the point would be set to 0 instead, just to try to remove as much of that clutter as possible. So I did this for each of the scans, and then I plotted just one side view of Testudo first. So I went with the left side and began combining my point clouds to get a full 3D scan of the statue. So to do that, I used I set some rotation and translation um, values. These were mostly done on trial and error, just running the MATLAB code, viewing the scan, seeing how far I needed to move that piece over to get the point clouds to line up, how much more I needed to rotate them, stuff like that. So this took me a while. It was mostly trial and error. But some things made sense. Like for a scan of the front of Testudo, it's going to be about 90 degrees rotated from the scan from the left. So that worked out fine. But then um, you'd expect the right scan to be 180 degrees, but it actually fit better at 190. So just some things like that where I had to make some changes and continue checking on the progress of my scan. Um, so after all of that, I ended up combining all of my scans into one point cloud, and then finally creating a text file and exporting all of the point cloud location information to that text file to use in the mesh lab. One thing that I did want to show really quick is a difference between Testudo at the beginning. This is the front view. As you can see, there's a lot of clutter here, and then one of the iterations of noise removal. So as you can see, it's a lot more clear from this view, and as I continued to make changes and figure out my thresholds, the amount of noise got reduced even further. After combining my point clouds, this was the end result. It is not the most perfect scan, but it does resemble Testudo. I'm hoping to go back and make another scan or set of scans with trying to emphasize detail and getting more angles, such as from the corners, in hopes of filling in some of these gaps, especially the ridge here between the neck and the legs. And then there was also a huge gap on the left side that for some reason was not picked up, which must have just been an issue when I was scanning the statue. But I would also like to get details more on the feet, and then maybe even try to get the top of the shell as well.